MultimediaJay radio style. MultimediaJay radio style.
And this, ladies and gentlemen, is how you do Friday live at 5. You start the music for the show early, and then once the clock turns 5, you get going on it. By the way, check out the new lights and stuff, filling in some of the dark spots in the back with more color and things like that. As the Geek House Dark Mode project progresses, my next goal with Geek House Dark Mode is to convert the entire Geek House so that I can change from light mode to dark mode with a simple voice command. But we're not here to talk about that today. This is MultimediaJay radio style Friday live at 5, Friday, October 9th, 2020. Today, the Streamlabs Streamhatchet Q3 report for 2020 came into my feeds, and I was like, this is it. I think it's been out for a while. What's the date on this thing? This posted when? The 7th or something? There's the Twitter part of it too. Yeah, so bottom line is this stuff is out. Yeah, October 7th, so that would be 2 days ago. So the perfect thing for a Friday live at 5. So because of the nature of this show, alerts are paused and muted. We'll play catch up with them at the end of the show. And I will be doing next to no interactions with chat during the duration of the show. We'll probably do some Q&A, AMA type stuff about this topic at the end of the show to go over everything. But there's just so much good stuff to go through, so much good commentary to do. And because the entire show is about this one topic, it's going over to YouTube long form. We're going to do all the fancy stuff. We're going to put in all the timestamps. We're going to put in everything. So I've been trying to figure out what to do about the radio style show and just how well it has done over on, in terms of providing YouTube content. It's gone way overboard to the point where my channel all but got taken over by the radio style segments this past summer. However, hopefully to the delight of my audience over on YouTube, stream highlights and segments and stuff like that are not going to be the central focus of the channel. They never were. And basically, I just had way too much fun with a new toy that worked way, way, way too well. Gone over with some vlog videos, and vlog to me nowadays means basically staking my claim in the world of the multimedia meta. But that doesn't mean that the wacky world of MultimediaJay is done. The next step in the Geek House Dark Mode project is a video that I have to definitely get to making. Get your cold ones ready, ladies and gentlemen. We are going to need them tonight because we've got some pretty serious numbers to go over. All right. So, in the world of business, you're often you're doing things by asking questions, such as, where did we come? Well, where are we now? Where are we going? And how are we going to get there? With these numbers, it's more a matter of where did we come from, where are we now, and what's next. So, if we switch over to the PowerPoint source here, which I've kind of gotten working a little better this time, this is what I posted over on Twitter, twitter.com/MultimediaJay. By the way, to access the report for yourself tonight, twitter.com/MultimediaJay. For the duration of the live show, it will be the pinned post on my channel. And over on YouTube, we will be putting a link to the Streamlabs Streamhatchet Q3 2020 report in the video description. So here's what we're going to talk about. First, we're going to start with some recap, Q2's ratios in Excel and the Mixer shutdown, along with a recap of the predictions if Twixer became a thing. I also keep custom numbers. One of the reasons why I do what I do in Excel and Power Query is to keep custom numbers and ratios, things to keep an eye on, that as a numbers nerd, I'm interested in. So basically, we're going to start with the Power Query Cruncher for Q2 and what we're coming from here with the shutdown of Mixer. And then we're going to go over the report directly as a reaction, looking at all the pie charts and then going camera only and just looking at the bullet points. And lastly, we're going to take an intermission, come back, punch in the Q3 numbers into the Power Query Cruncher that I have in Excel, update everything, and then see where we're at and how things have changed since Q2. So we're starting in Excel Power Query, going to the report itself, and then going back to Excel Power Query to round out the show. Now let's get some music going, shall we? How is the music player? Okay, it's over the top of PowerPoint with this source. Good, that's what I'm looking for. Gotta have some music, man. Just fix some levels and make sure that the voice is adequately ahead of the background music so the background music stays in the background. Now let's go to Excel here. we'll start with the numbers that I've been posting on and off on Twitter. See, we probably have to rehook it, right? No, this is it. So here's the cruncher from last quarter for Q2. So the headline for everything, and of course I also have it in, let's hook the browser while we're at it, because the browser has to be individually hooked. It has to be individually hooked these days because of maybe some updates and things like that. All right, there's the report. Let's go to the other tab. Let's see here. So here's the numbers that I was sending around. I took a screenie of these earlier. Just make sure they still match between the browser and Excel. Yep, they look like they're in decent shape. So here's where we're starting. This is where we're coming from here. Twitch is highly successful as a streaming platform, but in many ways, when you dig into the numbers, you'll find that Twitch is a victim of its own success. Their branding is so strong, and everything they're doing is so effective that they're at the point where they're basically breaking their own platform because of how incredibly strong Twitch's marketing is. They have the marketing, but they don't have the follow-through. And eventually, when more people realize this, they're gonna have to scramble more and more, especially as YouTube, a far larger competitor, is basically the sleeping red giant that is waking up from its sleep. And Team Red is nothing to joke about. Just this past week, with the vice presidential debate. Not even Trump versus Biden here in the US with the presidential election. ABC News had a live stream of the vice presidential debate. Hit 1 million concurrents. When do you ever see that on Twitch? There is a size difference between the platforms, but think about it. That's 1 million people, 1 million concurrent viewers of a stream. Not even the television broadcast if there was one. So, holy cannoli, man, that's crazy. But it just shows just how a year like 2020, despite all of its problems, has been great for bringing live streaming more into the mainstream. And I think that's what happened this year is going to continue affecting things for years to come. So here's where we were in Q2. You had Twitch breaking records, benefiting the most from the lockdown, arguably. So you had massive, crushing everybody else numbers of hours watched. At the expense of, you also have massive, crushing everybody else hours streamed. The problem with that is for the creators themselves. For small creators trying to grow, they can't grow if they can't get an audience. And when mathematically, you have the worst ratio of watch versus streamed in the entire industry, aside from Mixer, which shut down, that's something you have to think about. And I'm also thinking of this nowadays from the big creators' perspective. Think like somebody with thousands of concurrents, somebody who's an established Twitch partner personality that is just rolling in the donos and bits and all that fun stuff, because it's like sometimes their stream all but gets taken over by the TTS. So at some point, I think if the growth continues to be like this, or if the platform continues to be like this, we're going to have some of these partners maybe rethinking, maybe getting on the phone with their lawyers to go over the contracts next time they're up for renewal. I think it's not if, but when we start seeing partners getting more aggressive with the contract renegotiations when the terms are up, if there is one. I don't know the details, and it's partner contracts are negotiated individually with creators. So I really think that as big streamers gain more business sense, they're going to start thinking, wait a minute, my growth has slowed to a crawl on Twitch because the platform itself, I'm hitting the limits of it. So what can I do to keep streaming on Twitch, but also maybe multi-stream to YouTube and build up a concurrent audience there as well? Because the more the merrier. And Twitch stands alone, even when Mixer was still running. Twitch stands alone among the big platforms for stuffy contracts, the exclusivity agreement in the affiliate contract, things like that. So let's put the OBS thing here on screen too, and let's go over the stuff in Excel from last quarter here. So Twitch, worst ratios in the industry. YouTube, promising. Facebook was above 100, but we knew that because of the way that Facebook was running the program, their Level Up program, their partner program, people are inherently encouraged to stream on Facebook only if they can get into that program. There's really not much of a reason to keep streaming on Facebook with the technical limitations if you're not in the Level Up program. But the good news is that the Level Up program just has, you have a commitment to streaming. There's really no gating it based on concurrence like there is for Twitch affiliates. So, by the way, Twitch's horrible ratio is one of the big reasons why I have such low goals for Twitch. My only goal is 3 concurrent viewers and Twitch affiliate. After that, whatever happens, happens. But here's the thing. I've been streaming for about 6 months now, still haven't gotten it. And I ask again, is this low quality content? No, of course not. There's people that can't get their cameras right, can't get their microphones right, can't get their content right, they can't stay entertaining. There's a lot of people out there who are bringing their friends along that just have no growth potential because they're not looking, they're spending too much time streaming. They're not looking at what exactly watching their stream is like. And so that's why, you know, they may get more growth and become affiliates, but that's as far as they'll get. So, but that's a totally different discussion. YouTube is the main competitor that I'm keeping an eye on. The reason for that is because it's Facebook, has numerous systemic problems, not just the level up program, but also the real names thing. I think is a deal breaker. I don't think Facebook ever grows seriously as a competitor until they start allowing people on Facebook to use aliases for Facebook gaming. They can use real names everywhere else, but quite frankly, there needs to be a way for people to protect their privacy. So that way, if there's some weirdo in chat or something, as we just found out recently by me watching a few Facebook streams, the security over there has gotten worse. It used to be the case that somebody could copy paste your name into a regular Facebook window from chat and find out critical details that you're sharing publicly. But at the very same time, nowadays, you can just mouse over and get all that now. I'm very surprised. I thought Facebook's engineers would take that in the other direction. I think the only way for Facebook to ever be a serious competitor is to get around this real names problem, because Facebook gaming is fundamentally different than the entire rest of Facebook, including the non-gaming streaming part, Facebook Live. So you can live stream for like remote friends and family members and lock down the privacy, so it's just like a call on Zoom or something. But if you want to go to the general public, there needs to be a way of internet safety protecting critical information, not just for the creator, but for the audience. Current situation is that a creator on Facebook can create a gaming video creator page, and they can give themselves a persona, a nickname, but the audience can't. And so as long as this continues, the audience is going to consist largely of people that don't know enough about internet security to shut up. And it's gonna, when more people learn about this, it's gonna just clam down or cool down any discussion in the chat, because you don't want to risk offending someone who then has a lot of critical information if they want to do something bad to you. So from a security perspective, I can't take Facebook gaming seriously, and I'm not going to until they fix this. My main concern, red versus purple, Twitch versus YouTube. Last quarter, Mixer ended their run with the worst ratio in the industry, and a warning sign as to what happens when your hours streamed gets too high relative to your hours watched. I did try streaming on Mixer while they were operating, but the problem I ran into was, whereas on Twitch I might get a concurrent here and there, maybe 2, who knows, the number actually moves. It did not move on Mixer at all the entire time, several hours I was streaming the game I was streaming. That was my first cue that something was wrong. When I got into the numbers, I suddenly felt much better about how badly the Mixer stream went. We have 2 calculated columns for Q2 here. One is uBook, which is a combination of YouTube and Facebook representing the rest of the streaming world aside from Twitch. I do that for the quarters, and I will do that again for Q3. Twixer, however, is the unique one. With the shutdown of Mixer, we went over to Mixer. We noticed what everyone was broadcasting as Mixer shut down. Nearly every single, despite the sweetheart deal to let people skip steps on the ladder in order to become a Facebook streamer, many Mixer streamers went to Twitch. Just about all of them, with very few exceptions, went over to Twitch. And I was over here thinking, wait a minute, you know, Twitch has the problems that it has, and maybe some people went from Twitch to Mixer because they couldn't grow on Twitch. What do they think this is going to do when all these Mixer people come flooding back? However, I ran some numbers and combined them together and saw the bleak future. Remember this 22,588 for when we come back later in the show. Matter of fact, is this in my screenshot that I have? Yes, it is. I'm going to keep the screenshot open in the browser for comparison's sake. So, let's look at some other things too from Q2. Some custom stuff I did when I standardized this cruncher in Excel Power Query. So here's Twitch versus YouTube. And some additional ratios based on dividing things together. So Twitch is watched versus YouTube's watched. Twitch as a streaming platform last quarter was only about 3 and change times bigger than YouTube. But they had 11 and change times the hours streamed. So to match YouTube's ratio of 88.9, Twitch would need, and this is all in millions by the way, Twitch would need 17,131 million watch hours. They would have to just about triple their size and then some a little more in order to match what YouTube offered its user base for people streaming. And we now know that some of these quarterlies may have been game streaming only and not necessarily all streaming, because when you go over to YouTube, it's a general purpose platform. I've seen streams over there of traffic cameras and wildlife cameras. There's an organization that streams national park wildlife cameras in Alaska to about 1,000 concurrents. Literally just running a camera of like bears fishing in a stream. So it's crazy how strong Twitch's marketing is. You get so used to the way things are on Twitch that you go to YouTube and you're like, oh wait, that can happen. I'm just so used to Twitch. Twitch puts a very heavy emphasis on personality streaming. There must always be a streamer. Otherwise, you have to be uncategorized, and who wants to be uncategorized? And it must always be interactive content. Otherwise, you got to be uncategorized, and who wants to be uncategorized? So, anyways, there's also YouBook, combination of YouTube and Facebook for Q2. Twitch had double the watch hours, but about 8 and change, about 8 times-ish, almost 8.5 times the hours streamed. They'd have to be 19.5591 to match what the competition could do. And they would have to almost quadruple their size in order to do that. So that really shows just from Q2, just how Twitch was becoming a victim of its own success. Twitch is incredible at marketing, and they have some very strong business sense. I can't say the same for many Twitch streamers out there. Otherwise, they'd wake up to what these numbers show, and they'd seek more multi-streaming options or to play the platforms off each other based on their strengths. There's very few streamers I know of who are doing that right now. And here's, of course, a graph that I made of watch stream ratios with a random dot for Twixer. We should probably ditch Twixer from the data at this point. It's useless. It's one-off, and it's always going to be a dot on that graph. It was largely related to the Mixer shutdown and things like that, so let's just recrunch everything and get the dot off the screen. Okay, good. Facebook, Mixer is going to disappear as well, so you might want to delete the Mixer data. Or the line will just stop. At least there was a line. So, all right. So that is the cruncher. Now, let's head over to the report. Let's head over to the report, and let's put the report on screen. Browser, please. And it would be nice if I put the browser back on the screen. All right, so here's the image we're going to hold on to with those Twixer numbers for that 22,588 for comparison later. Let's go over this thing, shall we? Facebook passes 1 billion hours watched for the first time. Following Mixer's shutdown, Twitch appears to capture the majority of its streamers. We saw that coming. YouTube gaming, and again, this is just game streaming, which gets me wondering about the numbers. One of the rules about analytics and numbers is that numbers are synthetic unless you know what's in them. They're just mathematical. They don't really mean anything other than numbers unless you know what's in the numbers. So I've seen YouTube folks on Twitter talk about how YouTube would dwarf the living daylights out of everything if the numbers ever were about all streaming. The problem I have with stream numbers being game only or focusing on gaming, is that Twitch is expanding, and a lot of their growth is from the expansion categories like just chatting. So just comparing game streaming is really not really a good picture anymore. Really what needs to be in this report is stuff that the platforms compete with each other on. And maybe just for giggles, how much bigger is YouTube versus Twitch by showing all streaming somewhere. But if they keep the methodology the same, then it keeps the numbers comparable to each other, so maybe it's a good thing that they stay steady eddies on this, because even Streamhatchet's independent report was missing a few critical numbers when we went over it last show. So, All right, let's take a look at some of this stuff here. So here we are for hours watched. Make sure I'm not obstructing the chart too much. Holy cannoli. Or should I say canola oil? I don't know. That's an old thing from like a cartoon way back when. Remember, these are all in millions. 47, 41.4, 1675. We should probably type these into the cruncher while we're at it. So we're not doing things redundantly. So this song's too sad. Let's skip it. All right, let's add Q3 2020 as a quarter and let's get these numbers in here. Q3 2020. It's going to break the formulas anyways. So let's see here. And get this over to screen 2. All right, let's get these numbers typed in. Q3 2020 Twitch. Hours watched in millions. 4741.4. All right, and let's see. YouTube Gaming Live, 1675. 1675. And Facebook. We'll bring down the quarter. Actually, we'll just do this we'll do this after the show because we're gonna have Excel open anyway, so we'll just save and come back. We'll just save and come back to that after the intermission. All right, so here's what we're looking at. Obviously, Twitch still runs the show when it comes to streaming. They have very, very strong marketing. I talk a lot about the diamond, people and technology. YouTube is the winner when it comes to technology, but on the people side of thing, the winner is Twitch. And we've seen, particularly if you follow things over on, say, Twitter or whatnot, if you follow Twitch's official Twitters and what they're advertising game streamers directly, they're advertising certain partners and various posts that they put on Twitter. You may see an actual commercial on certain platforms, not YouTube, obviously, but you may have seen, for example, little pop-up ads on various websites with Twitch stuff playing and the little blinky face at the end. So Twitch does advertise and promote, and they also recently, as we talked about earlier, they launched a program to promote some of their partners whose concurrents are lower. So you'll see like Twitch partners that have dwindled down to say 20, 30, 40, 50 concurrents. They're getting advertised by a certain booster program that Twitch is rolling out. But notice what all of this is. It's the people side of things. It's old-fashioned advertising. It's not anything algorithmic. Twitch's algorithms are very, very behind YouTube, and there's some design issues with the site that discourage discoverability. Like, for example, when you try using the algorithms on the front page to find new creators to watch, you'll often see recommended for you being like half full of stuff you're already following. So channels we think you may like doesn't really live up to its name in that respect. Facebook 1041. The problem with Facebook is the real names. Facebook fundamentally is a different kind of social media versus YouTube and Twitch. So this is part of the problem right here with Facebook, is that they gotta figure out this real names thing. They can't get anywhere if they don't. I have to do a graphic of this at some point, but whereas YouTube knows that streaming is doing well for itself and wants to insert streaming into YouTube, Facebook is what it is and is moving towards streaming in the other direction. Probably could explain that better with graphs than I can just saying it like this. We'll work on that some other time. Total hours streamed, though. Here's fundamentally the biggest problem with Twitch. This is the strong branding killing people's ability to be successful on the platform because there's just too many Twitch streamers. 91%. The extreme majority of the hours streamed last quarter on Twitch. Massive. You know what? Why don't we compare the pie charts quarter over quarter? Unique channels. 90% of folks streaming channels, Twitch. There you go. Not even 1 million on YouTube. 10.5 million plus some change on Twitch. There you go. And here's our hours watched. And Top Esports, go into the report to get the rest of them. The big thing I want to look at here is the pie charts. Let's go camera only here, and let's get the Q2 one on screen here. Also from Streamlabs' blog, Streamlabs Content Hub post. Let me see if I can just change, assuming that there's a naming convention, I should be able to just change the quarter to 404 error, whatever. Q2. I think I had something else in there as well. Slightly different. let's actually do a mouse over of Q2 and stuff. Let's actually see how these pie charts have changed before we get into the bullet points. So let's go to total hours watched and position it in the right spot here. And let's compare them off against each other. Okay, are you ready for this? With just the pie charts alone here. So here's Q3 versus Q2. So what we see here, as Mixer goes away, YouTube in particular jumps quite a bit. And I think YouTube is the main competitor here. The big thing to keep in mind, though, by the way, is that there is no stuffy exclusivity here. Assuming you realize that streaming on Facebook would give you a very different kind of audience than streaming on YouTube, and you may not want to show TTS or alerts on screen for people on Facebook because it's real names and stuff. You know, maybe anonymize them or something. Ugh, why is this thing gurgling? Just filled it up. You can actually double stream on these two, and that's why I'm saying uBook and stuff. The only place you run into stuffy exclusivity is with Team Purple. Even with Twitch Affiliate. 24-hour exclusivity period on content you stream. Although, from what I've read, the main use of that is to discourage multi-streaming. So, but I really think, though, as the big partners start to pick things up, this is way too mellow of a song. I think as the big partners start to figure out some of the stuff we're talking about in this show, they're going to start getting more aggressive with the contract negotiations. Because if you are as big as you're going to get on Twitch, because Twitch is way too oversaturated with creators, why wouldn't you be on the phone with your lawyer talking about negotiating a contract that lets you start double streaming or something like that? And there are Twitch partners who I've seen double streaming. Linus Tech Tips is one of them. And also, without even talking about that, a more public example with all the publicity as they're trying to grow as a television station. The single biggest example of a Twitch partner double streaming is Ven. Let me actually just double check their Sully Gnome real quick to make sure they are still a partner. Alright, and it defaults to Yugi when I look it up on here, but let's see, Ven. Oh no, it's Watch Ven actually. Watch Ven. There we go. Let's pop that sucker on the screen. Now, I thought they'd be like an MCN, but it really hasn't worked out quite as well because they're not live all the time. So their audience dwindles way down when they're not live. But let's go here and, yeah, see partnered. Watch Ven partnered. But they're also broadcasting on YouTube as well. Here's a Twitch partner who is double streaming, minimum. Assuming there isn't one on Facebook as well. Haven't found it if there is. But this just goes to show, and let's zoom way in on the fact that Ven is partnered. This just goes to show that if creators think that they've hit a wall, if Twitch partners think that they've hit a wall, it is technically somehow possible to negotiate for double streaming because Ven's done it. They're the precedent. Any of these big creators that seem stuck and spinning their tires lately should be looking into this. Especially if they have an org behind them, like some of the big ones that have managers and folks working with them because they needed a team, so they have a team now. It's not just like, say, a medium-sized streamer who looks like they have a team because they have a very robust and talented Discord community. I've known a few of those since I've been involved on Twitch. But there you go. And of course, the concurrents are way different on YouTube, but Ven has broadcasts going on both platforms, so this is just evidence that it's doable. Let's close that out. Let's get back to our hours streamed, by the way. Scroll down for both reports. So we know that Mixer had no shortage of hours streamed. They just couldn't get anybody to go to the platform. And here we are now. Mixer's gone. 6, 7. Actually, the hours streamed shrunk for YouTube. Which just means the door's open. Which just means the door's open for if you want to be a streamer and you're already doing YouTube videos because you're listening to the talking heads who tell you to make YouTube videos and bring the audience to Twitch. You might as well just kick the tires on streaming on YouTube while you're at it. So, oh look, the Christmas music's back because I have it in the same folder as the regular stuff. All right, let's do unique channels here, and then we'll go to our intermission and ready the power query thing. Oh no, we gotta go over bullet points. Unique channels. Twitch dominating the living daylights out of everything. Let's look at the YouTube one. 6.5 to 7.8. So people are starting channels on YouTube, but they're just not using them as much. Facebook, 1-2 to 2-2. Same thing with Facebook. Excuse me. Actually, Facebook has some exclusivity deals that they're signing to bring streamers over. It's just, I think Facebook's problem is a systemic and an engineering problem. They have to change the way they run their platform to be a serious contender. If they did, they have a huge audience that they just need to get watching streams, as opposed to Twitch, which is basically streaming only. That's the primary advantage that the other two platforms have versus Twitch, is that there are reasons besides streams to be on YouTube and Facebook. Twitch doesn't have that. They have VODs and they have video content. Number one, they need a better working search engine so Twitch can be more searchable. They need better SEO, so if someone like me, for example, makes a radio-style show as a Twitch highlight and a YouTube video, the YouTube video stops showing up way before the Twitch highlight in the search results. And lastly, not only do they need a search engine, more SEO, they need to give their creators a reason to actually use the highlights feature. Very few big streamers I know have used Twitch highlights. They don't bother. They send them over to YouTube. And it's not going to help things either that we recently found out. There's official guidance to the partners to make YouTube videos for marketing and discoverability. Oh man, oh man, oh man. All right, let's go to camera only mode here and let's check out some of these bullet points. We've looked at all the nice colorful text stuff, and let's close the Q2 and let's finish up this segment. Whoa, I'm still way too... Okay, here we go. Audiences watched over nearly 7.5 billion hours of content over all live streaming platforms. The number is only slightly down from last quarter at 771 billion, but year over year, massive growth. And I think we have the lockdowns and the pandemic to thank for that. It's also one of the reasons why there's been price gouging for podcasting equipment. Between all the remote meetings and stuff, can't imagine, somebody working from home. Maybe they play video games. So they're on meetings at work and working remotely, and then when it's time to call it for the day, play some Halo or whatever on Twitch. And don't forget celebrities too. If they can't make movies or play sports or something, so they became Twitch streamers. It's just like, this is like, besides the year of the pandemic, 2020 is really the year of streaming going mainstream in various ways. And we saw that with the ABC News thing with the million concurrence for, again, the Veep debate. Vice President, not even Trump versus Biden. Million concurrence on ABC News' YouTube channel. Amazing. Twitch, let's see here. The big issue I have with this report is that it's talking about the numbers in respect to the numbers and not talking about the context. So, this report is bragging about how Twitch grew in hours streamed, but what matters for content creators, both big and small, is that Twitch has a healthy audience for the content creators that they have, and right now they're the worst in the industry for that. So after the break, we're going to actually run some numbers through here and there, but that's the key takeaways though, is that Twitch, yeah, they're doing well, but it's not going to last. As more people figure this out, as more streamers get business sense, and as more streamers get on the phone with their attorneys when it's negotiation time for the contracts, or whoever, if they have one, or that they try and do something to give themselves some more freedom as a creator. This whole thing with Twitch exclusivity is really the, think like, say, a dam that's about to burst, and someone puts a little wooden spike in there hoping that holds the water, puts a cork in there hoping that holds the water. Or how about that meme where there's a leaking thing of water and somebody puts tape over it or something? Yeah, well, exclusivity is the piece of tape. The minute that pops off, bloosh. So, Twitch still holds a significant lead over YouTube gaming, but YouTube is seeing quarter-over-quarter growth here. YouTube can accelerate that by working on their disciplinary issue with YouTube streaming and videos being too intertwined. The more they work on fixing that so that it's harder to lose access to videos because you screwed up in a stream, the better they're going to do. Also the automated systems, which we know YouTube is also depending on more than usual because of the pandemic and everyone working remotely. If that ever stops, there's going to be things will happen. All right. Oh, nice. Ethan Meixel. Woo! Bang your heads, people. Total hours streamed. Twitch managed to sustain its record-breaking number. That's the thing. They're talking about the numbers in a vacuum. The context of it is that Twitch is a lot harder and is in worse shape because of this ratio. 99% of the market share, unique channels, concurrent viewership. Average concurrent viewership, 2.15 million viewers, down versus 2.34 million. That's basically average concurrent viewership for all streams. All right, let's just go over some basic things here and there. For the full report, twitter.com/MultimediaJay. This report is my pinned tweet for the duration of this show. For the YouTube video, it will be in the description. YouTube Gaming. Compared to everybody else, they had the largest increase in hours watched. YouTube Gaming could not increase the number of streamers using the platform. Yeah, well, until YouTube fixes its structural issues versus videos, it's better for a streamer to have their streaming somewhere else for diversification's sake. This is something that YouTube has to figure out on their own, though. YouTube Gaming, 22% of the market share, increasing 2.8% from last quarter. Interesting. Concurrence on YouTube also going up as well. Facebook Gaming, growth been skyrocketing. Facebook Gaming still benefited a little from Mixer shutting down. Some people took the sweetheart deal, but not very many. Let's see here. It's still growing overall, but I think what'll hold Facebook back is the real names thing. The more people are aware of the security issue with real names, until this is fixed, I expect YouTube to always have better growth. Not even close. All right, so that's really all I want to go over with the report itself. We're going to take a quick break, and when we come back, we are going to be punching Q3's numbers into the cruncher in Excel Power Query for even more insights above and beyond what Streamlabs Streamhatchet has in their report. Don't forget, twitter.com/MultimediaJay. Pin post is a link to the report if you want to see these numbers for yourself. And I'll probably be passing around various Discords and other stuff as well, because this is huge in terms of watching the competition between YouTube and Twitch. And if you're not locked into a contract, figuring out what to do where. This is MultimediaJay radio style. Don't touch that dial.
MultimediaJay radio style. MultimediaJay radio style.
Okay, back from the break, and it's time to get more original, so to speak. Instead of just reacting to the Streamlabs Streamhatchet Q3 2020 report, now we're going to look at custom ratios and just where Twitch stands versus its competition when you start calculating some things based on the numbers. This, ladies and gentlemen, is the reason why I'm such a huge fan of these quarterlies, because they have enough information, or enough data, I should say, to really get some wonderful insights here. So first off, let's begin with a main screen capture here. Why is my camera not on this source anymore? I probably should add it back in. Yeah, and if I put the main screen on there, then it shows OBS. That's why it's a capture here. So we're just going to go over the numbers real quick here to make sure everything's accurate. So for Twitch, for Q3 2020, 4171.4 and 205.6. For YouTube, we have 1675 versus 12.5, all numbers in millions. For Facebook, we have 1041 and 7.6. And if let's check our ratios for ubook as well. Ubook is D13 plus 14, so it's Q3 2020 YouTube plus Q3 2020 Facebook, and then for hours streamed, 12.5 plus 7.6, E13 plus E14. So for the combination of Twitch's entire competition among the other two big platforms, we have 27, 16, and 21. Remember, everybody but Twitch has no stuffy exclusivity unless you actually sign an exclusive deal. So the idea of double streaming on Facebook and YouTube is definitely something that some creators may want to take a look at. Let's get number one, the camera back on the screen. Number two, Excel back on the screen. And let's make it nice and big now that we've confirmed all of these numbers here. And let's also get ready to compare the Twixer number, which again was 22,588. Okay, are we ready? Let's get some music playing. Preferably something a little more upbeat than Thinking Back. All right, let's do this. What kind of ratios are we looking at? Bam. Twitch, 2306. YouTube, 134. Facebook, 136 and a bazillion decimals. Let's actually go to the quarterlies and let's update everything. So let's refresh this. Q3 should show up when it finishes updating. There it goes. Hope I don't crash the stream or Excel while running all these number crunchy things. Let's copy paste Q3 2020 under quarters to show. Refresh it again. And let's take a look at this. Okay. So ubook has Mixer's colors. Make sure the colors are right. Yar. There we are for Q3. And let's change the color of these. Change the color of these to, let's just go with black for ubook, or let's go with green. There is no green team anymore. Green for go. There you go. So compared to Q2, let's begin with that reference, the reason why I wanted to take a look at Twixer. Let's take a look at this. The reason why I kept that Twixer graphic going, browser. Twixer, I am covering up the ratio, but we can shrink the browser down to get around this. Or we can turn on the side menu again. 22.58. 22.588. The actual numbers came out to 2361. So not as bad, because not all Mixer streamers went to Twitch. But compared to what has happened with YouTube and Facebook in the same time period, look at the stark difference between these ratios nowadays. Look at this. You have both major competitors that are over 100 with their ratio now, with hours streamed versus hours watched. YouTube in Q3 has closed the gap, so basically closed the gap with Facebook without any issues related to things like real names and other stuff like that, the level up program, things along those lines. Another important thing to remember for a new streamer starting out, if they start on YouTube, is that YouTube doesn't have like, your streams are not going to be affected by the grind to affiliate. I think probably one of the worst things about Twitch affiliate is that Twitch has that concurrent viewers thing. So when you're trying to get going on Twitch and you're one of those Twitch grinders, oh, keep grinding, you have to think about, is this going to help me get Twitch affiliate or not? Is this going to help me get my 3 concurrent viewers or not in order to get affiliate? Whereas on YouTube, none of that matters. Just do whatever. Whatever happens, happens, because the progress towards being monetized on YouTube is completely different. There's no concurrence. There's 4,000 public watch hours and 1,000 subscribers. So you can work your way up to that by just making videos. Never mind anything that's streaming specific. But the big thing is, because you're streaming on YouTube, you're not thinking about what will this do to my... Yeah, you have goals to shoot for if you want to be an affiliate and eventually a partner, but you don't have to worry about that. You could just stream, you could just make stuff. And you're not dependent upon your streaming to advance you in the platform. So that, plus if YouTube fixes its UI issues and some of its disciplinary issues and some of its issues with its automated systems, this is why I'm watching YouTube very, very closely as the giant that it's going to become. Because literally 23 and change versus 100 plus. Even if you combine the numbers together between YouTube and Facebook, these are your numbers as a double streamer. For Q3, 27, 16, and 21, the ratio is 135. So whether you stream on YouTube, Facebook, or both at once, you still have mathematically a way better ratio than Twitch. This 2361 is a huge problem. It represents fundamentally the difference between purple and even the blue team, never mind Team Red. So, let's check out some of these other ones and make sure the numbers keep matching as well. Twitch versus YouTube, let's just make sure it pulled Q3, right? 4741 versus 4741, good. 1675. So, Twitch versus YouTube. Twitch's watch versus YouTube's watch, 2.83. So Twitch is still about 2.5 times and change bigger, almost 3 times bigger. Stream versus our stream, though, is 1645. To match what YouTube offers now, remember, all of these numbers are in millions. Twitch now would need to be 27,550.4. They would have to increase the size of Twitch nearly 6-fold in order to offer that same ratio that YouTube offers. And this is just the mathematics. We can talk about systems, algorithms, promotions, how the platforms handle their user base. That's a totally different discussion. Just from the numbers alone, Twitch is falling behind. And that's why I talk about, again, the diamond. People versus technology. They both go together. Twitch wins on people. They got to play catch up on technology. YouTube wins on technology. They could treat their people a lot better than they currently do. But when it comes to the competition and everything, there you go. We can actually, because of the way this thing works, we can actually go and change the quarter. We can drop this to Q2. We can actually do this. It's not real time, so we can actually go back. We can bounce it back to Q2 just by hitting refresh. Let's bounce it back to Q2. What we're looking at for Q2 with these numbers. Or Twitch versus YouTube, sorry. Well, that spoiled a few things. So Twitch would have to more than triple its size. Go back to quarterly data and quarterly results. Switch this to a 3. Q3 2020. Twitch versus YouTube. Well, we kind of spoiled Twitch versus YouBook for Q3. So we've gone from needing to triple and then some the size of the platform to nearly 6 times as big. That's why my only goal on Twitch is affiliate. There are a couple of things, though, that for a small creator like myself, that Twitch is still better at than YouTube. Like if I want to do recreational streaming where I'm not saving all the content, when you stream on YouTube, you're essentially making a YouTube video in real time. That's how they basically shoehorned streaming into the platform before they started chasing Twitch for feature parity. So if you just want to be like, yeah, I'm going to stream recreationally for my friends, just have your friends know what your Twitch channel is and have them tune in. So Twitch is still the better place to do like chill streams with your friends. But if you want to build something and grow something, you're already going to YouTube if you listen to the talking heads that tell you to make YouTube videos in order to grow a streaming audience. So you might as well kick the tires on streaming while you're at it. Or just use your time with nobody in the chat, no concurrence, as practice time on Twitch. And if you screw up and you get a ban from Twitch or something like that, well, you don't lose your YouTube in the process. So it's still a toss-up, but notice the difference between why I'd encourage someone to use YouTube and why I'd encourage someone to use Twitch. Let's compare versus uBook. We probably should, we could put Facebook in here. Just refresh it one more time just to double check. 2351 versus 135. It's similar numbers anyways. As a matter of fact, is that done updated? Yes, it is. 1.75, 10, 23, 27, 776, 586. So in both cases, you're talking Twitch needs to increase the size of its platform nearly 6 times to offer what either YouTube or double streaming on YouTube and Facebook offer. There you go. Watch stream ratios. This is Facebook, right? Yeah, Mixer stops. Mixer's the other blue and it stops the Q2. Here's our ratios. Green is uBook, combination of Facebook and YouTube. Red is YouTube, of course. Facebook is the new blue team. And then here's Twitch. This is the actual watch versus stream ratios and how they've progressed over the quarters. So, I'm curious about Q4 now. Will that come out after Christmas or something? Anyways, we're going to screenshot this. Let's just end the discussion here. Let's just end the discussion here with these numbers. So, because I think these numbers speak for themselves. They absolutely... This will go to Twitter after the show, by the way. These numbers speak for themselves. 23 versus 134 and 136. 135, you combine them together. No comparison. From the numbers alone, if you're gonna stream as a small creator, you want to do it on one of these two. I prefer YouTube. So, Facebook, iffy. You might have audience problems as more people figure out the security issues with the real name and they kind of shy away. So what does this fundamentally mean? What this fundamentally means is that Twitch... I talk about Twitch becoming purple YouTube. Part of the reason why I talk about this kind of stuff, about something that's not so blippity-bloopity here, part of the reason why I talk about that is feature parity. Twitch is strong with live streaming, but they can't even get their own people to use the highlights feature on a regular basis. And if you ever tried searching for videos on Twitch, it's a nightmare. I tried searching for something really basic that I swore there'd be something on somewhere on Twitch a long time ago. How to play League of Legends. Got the most random results because I got everybody's VODs. So there's feature parity and there's getting people to use the video feature on Twitch. There's also some technical issues too, like Yugi, for example. Big fan of her stream and everything. I tried to binge watch a bunch of her recent clips, and Twitch's algorithms kept bouncing me literally between the same 3 clips over and over again. It wouldn't keep finding stuff that I hadn't watched yet. So, tech-wise, Twitch has some catching up to do. Feature-wise, Twitch has some catching up to do. And then you have to talk user-based conditioning. People have to know to go to Twitch for reasons besides watching live streams. Why should they go to Twitch to watch videos? That's the thing. That's what Twitch doesn't have versus YouTube and Facebook. Same thing with the so-called endemic population, as it's called, where people are already on these two platforms for some other reason. So it's just like that to switch over to a live stream, whereas you have to want to watch streaming to go to Twitch. So, my predictions with Streamhatchet's report earlier were correct. The situation has gotten worse. Why don't we actually bounce these back? Actually, no, it's on this chart here. Let's go back to Q1. Let's actually look. Oh, no, that's why we have this ratio in the first place. So, this chart so you see things are relatively flat and they start to drop down a bit. This needs to be higher in order for mathematically, just from the numbers alone, you to be able to find an audience. I wonder how long this has been the standard methodology of these reports. I'm curious if I punched in some more quarterly data, what would show up in that line chart for like 2019, 2018, etc. Otherwise, we're going to keep things going. So this, ladies and gentlemen, is where we are at as of Q3 2020. We'll have to see what happens as things progress towards the end of the year, particularly if we get a vaccine for the pandemic and everything, and we can start returning to normal. Some folks are saying maybe the end of next year we'll see somewhat of a return to normalcy and stuff. But for now, if you need to break through if you wanted to shatter the veil of Twitch's strong marketing and Twitch not being able to handle its own success, these numbers tell you exactly what you need to know. And here's the thing. I've talked about this from the perspective of a small creator. What about the large creators who find that they're the 5,000 viewer Andy or the 20,000 viewer Andy or the 2,000 viewer Andy, and they don't seem to be growing, or their growth is so slow because of this that they now have to start wondering, if I could double stream and start growing an audience on something like YouTube, and it may not be as big because so many people know to come watch streams on Twitch, but there are people on YouTube that will never give Twitch a chance. They have no reason to go to Twitch, not going to watch Twitch. So there's part of the audience on at least YouTube, maybe even Facebook as well, but there's part of any streamer's potential audience that they're leaving on the table by being only on one platform, and in this case only on Twitch with its various issues. So again, love seeing the growth for Team Red, and I love seeing the competition in general, because it's competition that keeps these platforms from being lazy and complacent. And as anybody will tell you who's been involved with stuff like this for any length of time, you don't want your platform to start taking its user base and what it has for granted. So, Twitch, what's next? Ball's in your court. You're advertising all over the place, but what are you going to do about your brand that is so strong and so powerful that you're falling victim to your own success versus Team Red? For YouTube, there have been problems with YouTube's automated systems the entire time I've been on the platform, going all the way back to 2006. When there's too much automation, that can be as bad as not enough automation. How does YouTube move forward? And then Facebook, we know they need to figure out the real names thing. If Facebook figures out the real names thing, I start tracking Twitch versus Facebook. That's the number one challenge. But until Facebook figures out what to do about Facebook gaming, which is fundamentally different from the entire rest of their already successful platform because of the heightened need for user privacy and internet safety, until Facebook addresses this, I can't take them seriously, and I'm not going to. So all three of the platforms basically have their mandates on what they need to do next. The question is, who does what, when, and what do things look like when we're looking at Q4 in a couple of months? Social media is youtube.com/MultimediaJay, twitter.com/MultimediaJay, twitch.tv/MultimediaJay, and multimediajay.wordpress.com. The final words I can really say to anybody watching this is, perspective is everything. You cannot let yourself get fishbowled by any of these platforms. And that's why I follow what it is that I follow. You should do so yourself as well. Till next time, this is MultimediaJay signing off. Thanks for stopping by.
257. MultimediaJay Radio Style.